PixMix is brought to you by the Arun Meta Show, broadcasting on Liberated Syndication, youtube.com/Arun Meta Show, and is in association with the Old School Lane podcast.
PixMix is brought to you by oldsschoollane.blogspot.com and is associated with the Arun Meta Show.
Welcome to PixMix with Arun.
And Patricia.
Hey Patricia, how you doing?
I'm feeling really joyful today, Arun.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to getting an inside look at this out there film.
All right, you win. I'm gone for the day. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, if everyone's
no, seriously. After last episode of PixMix talking about a mediocre movie such as Monsters University, I think we really needed this.
Yeah, I think we really need this right now. So I'll tell you what, this is actually one of my favorite Pixar films that we're just about to talk about. So let's not just delay. Let's just get right into it. When Inside Out was first announced, at least in my circle, it was not actually well received when the first trailer came out. And just keep this in mind, everybody. We had just come off Cars 2, Brave, and Monsters University. So what did Pixar decide to announce? Hey, we're going to lecture you about your emotions. And I've got to be honest with you, when this was first announced, it was not really a good tone to strike after giving us 3 films of not very good, really.
So. Yeah, that is true. And you have to understand, for those who have just been tuning in, we had just gone through what many people consider to be the Pixar Dark Age, in which after John Lasseter left and after Toy Story 3, it seemed that Pixar had been going through mediocre movie after mediocre movie, and everybody was just like really, really disappointed. This was when Disney was starting to get back on the horse with releasing things such as Princess and the Frog and Tangled and Frozen, Wreck-It Ralph. So a lot of people had pretty much lost hope on Pixar for the longest time. I mean, for many people, they say that, Pixar hasn't done like a really good movie, or at least anything that is of their quality, and pretty much I would say in almost 5 years. So now we have this huge comeback in the form of Inside Out, and man, it's definitely hands down one of the best Pixar movies that has ever come out.
It was a massive surprise, to say the least. And but when you go into the production of it, you're actually not very surprised about it, because they actually brought, if I understand correctly, they actually brought in like psychologists and like psychiatrists and things like that to like really get down the characters of emotions. Which I thought
there was a lot
brilliant.
of research done about this movie, about the emotional aspect of how a person feels, and of course, done by the amazing Pete Docter, who has worked on other movies such as Up. He worked on Monsters, Inc., and various others. And so he decided that he was going to base off of something that was really personal for him. And Inside Out is that movie. And so, yeah, I remember when I first heard about it, I didn't really think too much of it, because I think, let's see, 2015, what Disney movie was out during that time? Was it Zootopia, or was it Big Hero 6?
No, I think it was Big Hero 6, because I remember Zootopia coming out way after Inside Out's announcement.
So it came out around Big Hero 6, and Big Hero 6 was like, oh, this is Disney and Marvel coming together, and they're going to make an animated movie based off of this obscure comic book series. So everybody was like into the Disney Marvel phase, and I guess, because we were so burned out from Pixar, we didn't think that they were ever going to do something like this again. And lo and behold, it just came out and everybody just loved it. It's still amazing.
Yeah, I tell you, I still remember the quote I made when I think I was still on terrestrial radio at the time. I think I was back in those days, and I remember saying, "Okay, look, everyone." Time me, and I picked up the phone in the studio and I said, "Okay, listen, Pixar, I want The Incredibles 2, Ratatouille 2, and I can't remember. I need some other sequels that I would like to see." And then I just put the phone on and I says, "Hey, everybody, I just saved Pixar." So it was just, it was a pretty squalid time, to say the least. But let's talk through this film and let's show everybody why this brought us back to why we all think Pixar is the gold standard again. So
yeah, right before we do that, we need to talk about the short that came with it.
Oh yes.
Love. And man, I cannot tell you how many people hated this short. A lot of people think this is the worst Pixar short that has ever come out.
Really? I liked it.
Yeah, I remember people hating it. Like, I think I listened to a bunch of animation podcasts and they were talking about oh, it's incredible. Oh, hold on. Dog.
Dog. Might be Doug from Up.
No, it's not Doug.
I'm sure we're going to find out who it is when. But anyway, while she's doing into that, for me, Lava was actually I thought I actually liked it. It was a nice little song about a volcano, finding love for another volcano, and it just, unable to, get together with this other one. It was pretty straightforward, I will admit, and but
yeah, it is pretty straightforward. I mean, I guess I don't know why people hated it. I guess some people hated it because it's nothing but songs. Where some of the other Pixar shorts, it was quiet and subtle. I think some people hated it because this lava is dreaming about a girl, and then he gets a girl, and then the girl is dedicated to him or something like that. It's like, I don't know, but I don't think it's that bad. I think it's pretty good. I actually do like it in a sense in which I think it's cute and it's very sweet. So I don't know why people hated this short. I don't have a clue.
I don't know. Maybe when they were all at school, they were bullied by a volcano or something. I don't know, but
yeah, that's true.
Well, I thought it was a good shot.
Yeah, me too. But with that out of the way, let's actually get into this movie, which I'm really excited about.
Okay, so it all starts with a girl named Riley Anderson, who was born in Minnesota. Her mind, which is commonly referred to as headquarters, her 5 personified emotions are created over time, which is joy, sadness, fear, disgust, and anger. And I thought this was a really good start. It's it started off quiet, and it started off, when nothing is there, it's just black, and then they went to white, and then all the emotions started coming out, and joy was the first one to come out, and then so you could see, and she's gonna be the main character of the of the movie, and so obviously she comes in first and establishes herself, and then sadness comes in afterwards and establishes herself. So
yeah,
it was a good way to start.
So basically, these 5 emotions come together, and they are controlling her mind, like if it's some sort of business, like a headquarters. And every memory that happens, it gets stored away into these little colored orbs, and a lot of them are happy, and some of them are sad. And Joy is very neglectful on sadness, so much as to the point in which she puts her way into a corner, especially in the scene in which she touches one of the really happy memories and they can't revert it back into being happy. So sadness is pretty much pushed to the side, and she doesn't really do much of anything except being incredibly depressed. And Riley, who is our main character, she's a regular she's a regular girl going into teenagehood, and she is from Minnesota, and she loves hockey, and she's doing really well in school, and she gets along with her parents, and everything goes very well until her father announces that they have to move away to San Francisco, and she starts going through a lot of emotions.
And they've also got this thing of like islands of personality, and I thought that was a pretty novel way of doing it, where you have like this a family island, and then you have like a sports island, and like all these other places as well, and so that kind of like interlinks with the personality, and so I liked how computerized it all was in a way. It was pretty well put together, and very clever how they all did it. In a way.
Yeah, it almost kind of reminded me of Wreck-It Ralph a little bit, in which Ralph would be traveling from video game world to video game world, and you get to see everything and how different it is, and they each have their own main character. And it's pretty much similar here, in which every single one of them represents something, like one of the happiest memories that Riley's going through. And yeah, it's actually really interesting. I mean, it also makes you think about if we had core memories in our brains, what would it be of?
Oh, I'm trying to think. What would my core memory be? I think. Dare I say? I think. Well, why not just because it's fresh in my mind because of Toys R Us? I think probably getting my Super Nintendo probably was a core memory for me. And
Yeah.
what else would the core memory be? Yeah, I just think I probably. I'll tell you what. I probably need to have a sit down and think about that really, because
Yeah,
I have a lot
probably
of
one of my
memories.
core memories was when I was in fourth or fifth grade, and Kevin and I would be going over to a field trip. Every field trip that we ever went to, we always sat together in the school bus, and we would go to one place, and we always make a comic book out of it. He would be the one drawing, and I would be the one writing, and it always was a highlight for us whenever we go to somewhere fun, and then we draw a comic book at the end of the trip so we can um, have it in our memories.
Yeah, and then you get to sell it to Disney and make some movies out of it. So. Okay, so yeah, so each emotion has a defined purpose for Riley's life. Joy makes her happy, fear makes her safe, anger makes her life fair, and disgust prevents her from being poisoned. And so both physically
Yeah,
and
especially
socially.
with broccoli.
Yeah, and actually on top of that as well, I don't know. This is one thing I sort of kind of disliked about Pixar, and this was a trait I started to notice, and that is the regionalization of the movies. So if you notice
Oh
that
yeah,
you had,
that's right. Because
yeah.
in Japan, they put in green peppers.
hmm And here in this country, you didn't in the memory with the dad, you didn't get the hockey game. You got a soccer game, which I thought was
Yeah,
totally
it
unnecessary.
makes a lot of sense because in America, I'm sure that America and Canada, I'm sure hockey would be very popular. But I guess in more European countries, that would make a lot more sense. And maybe for the Japanese, baseball would be something that they would be preferring to watch.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, cause I would have preferred the memory to be hockey, to be honest with you, because it wouldn't show that there's like a nice little like sports connection with Riley between him and him and Riley. So I think that
I
probably might
suppose
have been
so,
it would
but
have been
it also
nice.
has to do with cultural reasons. And
Yeah.
I think in Zootopia they did the same thing, in which one of the news announcers, depending on what country you live in, the co-announcer will be a different animal. I think in Japan it was like a tanuki, and I think in China was a panda bear or something. So I can understand that. I mean, at least they were able to do it in a way in which it made safe. I mean, not safe sense to the cultures. I mean, as in like for kids, in which we don't want you to know that it came from this country. Instead of rice balls, we're just gonna put a bunch of sandwiches and jelly donuts.
Yeah, and also, do you remember they turned one of the characters blue as well?
Oh
Oh
yeah, I
yeah.
remember that's the Dragon Ball Z Kai English dub, and then eventually when Nickelodeon got it, they did decided to turn Mr. Popo blue because they
Mm,
thought he would be a racist stereotype.
yeah. So I mean, so there was this regionalization. Also, some of that as well. There was I mean, there's one that stands out for me, and that was Monsters Inc. Because if you remember in the news, when Boo finally comes into the monster world, and there's the whole like news cycle, the news report that comes out. If you notice, instead of calling it catastrophe, they actually in some countries they actually just put it like a nuclear symbol over the overlay, rather than basically calling it catastrophe. So yeah, I remember that. So, go back to Inside Out. When Riley turns 11, her family relocates to San Francisco, and her father gets a new job. Joyce tries to make the move more a pleasant experience for Riley and the emotions, but several elements leading up to the move make the other emotions think otherwise, and sadness messing up a couple of things while turning a happy memory into a sad one when she touches it, like we said before. And, it's you can definitely tell that Joy is kind of a control freak in this.
She wants everything to be happy. She wants everything to be smooth because she thinks joy and happiness equals you're stable.
And even though you can definitely tell that she's going through some kind of, she's basically causing her to go through some kind of crisis at this point because
exactly.
you can tell. It's interesting that remember when she went through the day and then at night, everyone is frustrated and but Riley is the one who's managed to keep Riley happy, and you can tell that she's kind of going through like a kind of when it shows like she's kind of like robotic in a way. And when she kind of just reverts from being from neutral to happy just very quickly in that scene in the bedroom in the bedtime scene, and it felt very robotic, and I thought that was quite clever for them to do that, to kind of say, oh, here's this fake front they're just putting on Riley when they know that she's going through other emotions at the same time.
Right, exactly, and we definitely do see in which. When Riley is going through the struggles of fitting in San Francisco, it just becomes incredibly overwhelming. School's not working out for her. Her father is constantly working and he's under stress. They live in this really cramped apartment, and she's just not interested in anything anymore. So she basically is sort of kind of like being on her, being by herself, going into her room a lot. And this is when the major plot point in the movie in which when Joy and Sadness get sucked into the tube and then they get separated from the main headquarters and they have to get back right before Riley becomes an emotional wreck.
Yeah, there's also the bit where Joy puts like a circle around Sadness.
Exactly. She puts a circle around Sadness for her to not touch anything because she already ruined one of the major memories from her childhood, and she doesn't want her to ruin it again. So basically, she's telling Sadness, you are not needed here because you cause a lot of emotional stress for Riley. Go into the corner and don't touch anything. Don't do anything. You're not wanted.
In revision, Joy's a bit of a dick, isn't she? Here's
the thing, Aaron. I can understand what Joy is going through because what would you feel if you were to feel an emotion? Would you prefer to be happy or sad? I mean, as somebody who's going through severe depression and anxiety, trust me, going through that is not fun. And I can understand why somebody like Joy, who is basically her job is to make somebody happy, would want to go through that because she loves Riley so much. She wants nothing more than her being happy and her being content with what she has. And so she would do anything for that. I think anything, she would be incredibly obsessive for it.
Yeah, I'll take you on that point. So we're too early into the movie, I think, to address that at the moment. So I'll address it when we go further into it. So on Riley's first day of school, Joy attempts to keep Sadness away, and but ends up touching a core memory, and she ends up crying in the classroom. So good start. And Joy attempts to dispose of the new memory, but her struggle, basically, a new memory gets created because of the situation. She attempts to dispose of it, but then hijinks ensue, and then both Joy and Sadness get sucked out of headquarters, and they end up into making their way through long-term memory. And basically it's just this massive labyrinth. I don't know. Was there a bit of a
massive labyrinth? No David Bowie.
No David Bowie. I was about to say that actually. Oh goodness.
Dance magic. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah. The magic ball as well. There's plenty of magic balls in this. Okay. So while they're there, we run into one of our fun characters, which is Bing Bong.
I love Bing Bong so much.
Yeah. And it was a fun. I thought at the beginning, I thought, oh no, it's going to be like an annoying character, but no, it's someone you kind of emotionally attach yourself to because it's somebody who feels left out for a very considerable long time because Bing Bong was Riley's imaginary friend, and as she grew older, she basically forgot him in a way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's not like in the Foster's Home universe in which they actually do come to life, and if you don't want them anymore, then you just stick them into the foster home for them to be adopted into another family. It's actually pretty interesting about how it's still deep down into your core memory that we would have something like an imaginary friend. And yeah, you're right. When I first saw this character in the theaters, I was like, oh god, here we go, a bubblegum barf pink elephant, and he's gonna come along and be all smiley and annoying. And I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't.
Yeah, and performed by Richard Kind, and I'm trying to remember who was Richard in as well. I'm trying to remember. He was Bookworm in Toy Story 3, and I believe he was Molt in A Bug's Life.
Yes, I think I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's done some other Pixar characters as well, but Bing Bong's obviously his crowning achievement at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we've got the team of Joy, Sadness, and Bing Bong trying to get back to headquarters, and Bing Bong tagging along, hoping that they'll be able to. I've gone blank now. So you talk about the train of thought, and then I lose my train of thought. So.
Yeah, well, basically they go over to one of the worlds, and essentially while they're looking around, Sadness, I believe, she causes something to cause the let's see, what was it going to be? Oh, that's right. I believe that what she does was that she actually they actually see the memories like falling down one by one as Riley starts becoming a lot more emotional. I think the first one that they go to, they had to leave just before it fell down, and then eventually all of them happen to fall down piece by piece, essentially being like her main core memories that have been making her happy, that had been there her entire life, are just falling apart, and Riley starts becoming more sad. Everything that she tries to do doesn't work. She tries to sign up for a hockey team. She's not interested. She tries to talk with her parents about moving back. It doesn't work. And she tries going into class, but she's not fitting in. So it just hasn't been working out for her.
Yeah, it's and like the visuals in this are just top notch in this. You can see like all those islands that are just falling into the memory dump. It's great. It's great visionary. To say the least, and it's very striking as well because you feel all those on top of that you see Joy and Sadness like going onto all those islands to try and get back up into headquarters, and every time they try and go on one it just falls apart, and so it ends up being kind of like a very desperate attempt trying to get back and they just can't. So when they try all the islands and they all fall into the memory dump, Joy, Sadness, and Bing Bong hatch a plan to ride on the train of thought back to headquarters and trek through the various parts of Riley's mind, unaware that Riley's life is slowly starting to crumble. She alienates both her parents and a former friend, struggles to new surroundings and quits hockey and do so for the first tryout. Anger reasons that the only way they can restore Riley's personality is to keep the remaining islands from falling into the memory dump, and is ready to run back to Minnesota. So this was it was interesting that they said they tried to cover up for Joy and Sadness, and it was with anger, disgust, and fear, and obviously it doesn't work, and you can see that when her interactions with her parents are pretty pretty squalid to say the least. And
one of my favorite scenes in this movie is when we actually do get to see the parents' emotions and how it's very somewhat similar. They each have like a joy, an anger, a sadness, a fear, and a disgust. And then you have like the fear's dad talking about like sports and about like how trying to be strong and being controlling, while the mother is basically talking about like try to smile and nod and trying to be try to imagine like a hot guy or something.
Yeah, I tell you what, I love the designs of the of the headquarters of each person. It's like, I tell you what, if my brain right now had headquarters like that, it would literally be the studio. Like, just be me, like, with all these screens in front of me, and hopefully one day I'll decorate it and stuff like that. But yeah, it would literally just be a radio studio, and we'll all just be on our booths, just kind of like talking on headsets. it would be, it would be, it would be pretty
That'd
crazy.
be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure Anger will get a lot of good lines in, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about like, politics news. Oh, wrestling. Oh, Hey Arnold. Whatever.
Pretty much. So, later that night, while Riley is sleeping, Joy, Sadness, and Bing Bong arrive at the loading dock for the train of thought, only to realize the train doesn't run during the nighttime. In an attempt to jumpstart the train, the three infiltrate the Dream Production studio, where Riley dreams and nightmares are created. And I love this concept as well. Like, their dreams are literally made in a massive a cinema complex.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say. That it was so interesting about how it's kind of like it almost reminded me a little bit of Osmosis Jones, in which you have the scene in which you want to see the memories of the person or what was going on. They see it like a movie. And when I was seeing Inside Out, it constantly made me think about Osmosis Jones. And I was just thinking, man, Inside Out actually made the concept of Osmosis Jones good. How do they do that?
Yeah,
because to be quite honest, I know some people like Osmosis Jones, but I don't. I don't really like it very much.
For me, I saw the TV series before I saw the movie.
Yeah. I forgot there was a TV series.
There was a TV series, yeah, and I didn't like the movie after I saw the TV series. I actually prefer the TV series to the movie, which I think some people will be quite surprised about. But
I have never seen the TV show. I mean, after I saw the movie, I was like, oh, really? They're gonna make a TV show out of this? Oh, I can't wait to see the animated version of Frank and what Ozzy and Drix are gonna be doing. Which, if I'm surprised that there was, considering that, Drix was, a tablet for like temporary colds, and he should have been, disintegrated by now. But yeah, after, I think I agree with what the Animated Anarchy podcast said about this movie, is that the animated segments were more interesting than good, and the human segments were just boring and really disgusting.
And a total waste of Dan Aykroyd. When you think about it, like, what a shame that he was just, the way he was.
It's hands down one of Bill Murray's worst roles. I think it's just as bad as
Bill Murray. Sorry, I do apologize. I don't know why I said Dan Aykroyd, but
no, it's okay. I mean, he kind of almost looks like Dan Aykroyd in that movie.
Yeah. So going back to Inside Out, as Joy, Sadness, and Bing Bong board the train of thought and make their way towards headquarters, Anger enacts his plan of running away. Riley is led to steal her mother's credit card, which causes Honesty Island to crumble, destroying the train of thought in the process. Joy, Sadness, and Bing Bong take refuge in the Family Island, only for the island to begin to fall in pieces when Riley boards a waiting bus to Minnesota. Then a failed attempt to hitch a ride to headquarters through an exposed memory recall tube. Joy and Bing Bong fall into the dump, leaving Sadness on her own. And this was the bit when Joy ditched Sadness at that point.
Yeah, she did. She ditched her and left her, for gone. And I was really shocked by this. Is like, all she wanted to do was just to get back to headquarters, and she would stop at nothing to do it, even so much as sacrificing Sadness for it, because she doesn't think that Sadness is necessary, because all she did was just cause so many problems. And throughout the movie, I mean, for a lot of people who don't know about the ending, obviously, but you're thinking, yeah, absolutely, Joy has an absolute valid thought, because nobody likes to be sad. We hate being sad because it just doesn't make us feel good. It makes us feel stressed, and it gets us into a situation in which we're not our true selves. So that's why I think that until we get into the ending, it's very valid on why she wants to act like this. And it doesn't really help much that Sadness does become like too depressed for her own good, that it just doesn't make you feel like you can root for her. But Yeah, it actually was pretty shocking, especially also in the scene in which when, Bing Bong actually disintegrates and, goes into the the memories where he will be long forgotten.
And doesn't come back. If you when you think about it, because when you think that the easiest thing they would have done is like when they've like restored headquarters back to normal and everything, that he would like magically reappear. When you
Yeah,
think about
yeah,
it, but no,
exactly.
he
It almost like with Olaf from Frozen, in which like, but spring and is going to be approaching, and Olaf's going to melt. What's going to happen? Oh, don't worry. All you need to do is just put in some little floofy cloud, and it constantly snows, and it'll be okay. But no, in this case, when Bing Bong falls down, he falls down for good. He's not coming back, and it's legitimately sad. I remember people crying in the theater when that happened.
yeah, that was the first that was the first moment of sadness from the from the audience. So and there's plenty more to come after that. So Joy and despair is on the verge of giving up and bursting into tears and shifts through Riley's memories, locating the sad one which Riley missed the shot of the hockey game. But then during all that scene, she realizes that when she moves it back and forth, that it actually changes from sadness to joy. And because people realized that she was sad and they wanted to cheer her up, so she ended up being happy because of sadness.
Yes,
So
exactly.
yeah.
So, in a sense, sadness did cause one of Riley's best memories to happen when she fell down from the ice and she was starting to cry. And then when her parents came to her, she was starting to feel better. So, it does leave a very important lesson about how we always want to, discard sadness because, like I mentioned earlier about me going through depression, being sad, especially about yourself or whatever's going on, is not good. But at the same time, you kind of need it because, in a sense, you really want to hang in there, and it almost makes you feel alive in a sense that, hey, I can understand why, I'm feeling this way, and without the sadness, you wouldn't be appreciative of what's to come with happiness.
Yeah, you have to be sad. It's one of your emotions. Whether you like it, we all, and every emotion here that's represented. Joy, sadness, fear, anger, disgust. I mean, these are all normal things that we expect. Like it's
Yeah,
just
exactly. And in a sense, the fact that it's saying that this movie is saying it's okay to be sad, then that's amazing because, as a society, we're taught to not cry or else we'll be seen as weak. You have to, don't show your emotions because you don't want them to walk all over you, take advantage of you. You have to be strong. You have to be tough. But the fact that it's saying it's okay to feel sad, it's okay to let out your emotions because being that's part of life. You have to feel these emotions in order for you to be a healthy human being.
mm-hmm. Joy emerges from the dump and finds Sadness, who has come to the conclusion that her doings can only hurt Riley and flees her, using a huge pile of imaginary boyfriends from Imagination. Oh yeah, the imaginary boyfriends from Imagination Land, and
Yes.
just create them. Just it's
That's great.
oh my goodness, it's just it's. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the only other thing I can think of that relates to that is probably like when that Treehouse of Horror episode when Homer clones himself
Yeah,
multiple
I
times.
remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can relate it to really. But Joy launches herself towards Sadness with a large trampoline and grabs her before she flies off flying towards headquarters, where anger and disgust work together to get them inside. Everyone then looks to Joy to save the situation, but as she steps back and lets Sadness take control. And my goodness, was this a powerful part of the movie?
Oh my God. I was like welling up when I saw that.
Yeah,
Like throughout the ending of the movie, I was just a mess.
yeah.
I was crying so much because I just felt so attached to this.
Yeah, so Riley at this point has nearly ran away, but when Sadness takes control, it's like all of a sudden she snaps out of her like trance and says, "Oh, good grief, what the hell am I doing? Get me off this bus!" And so she runs back off to her parents, and her parents are worried about her. And then Sadness takes control of the console, and Riley just pours her heart out. And everybody, let me say this: I saw Inside Out twice. I loved it that much that I needed. When I first saw it, it hit me so much that I couldn't exactly believe it, and so I went to go see it again, just to kind of clarify what I saw the first time. And in both screenings, that whole cinema was in floods of tears.
Yes,
it was
too.
Brilliant.
Everybody was crying. I mean, I looked like side to side from everybody who was watching this movie, and they were all tearing up. My sister and my cousin were like all crying, and there was like this little kid who was like saying, "Mommy, is she gonna go back with her daddy and mommy? She can't go into the bus. She's not allowed to." And it was just the cutest thing ever. And then when they started hugging each other after Riley lets out her emotions, that was like, that's it. Bring out the waterworks. I'm done.
It wasn't the best touch that when Sadness brought in Joy to like press a button, and then she just starts smiling because her parents are comforting her in this moment when she just And oh my goodness! I would actually like to have seen the emotions inside Riley's parents' head. And
that
see
would
what
be
they were.
great. Yeah, I would have loved to have seen how they were feeling. Maybe like we could have had a scene in which when they're worried, and we could see like the parents' emotions, like, oh man, we got to find Riley. Where is she? And that's all in their minds right now. Like, how are they feeling when that was happening?
Yeah. Actually, one thing we forgot to mention on this that if you notice in the head of the mom, that is basically like an afternoon talk show, and in the head of the dad, it's like Star Trek. Like,
yes.
I thought that was pretty clever, to be honest with you. So that was that. So Riley is now functioning the way that she should be, and on top of that, now in this part of the in the final act of the film, they started doing all the foreshadowing for a possible sequel.
Yes.
If so we got Riley joining the new hockey team. We got the upgraded console with the big red puberty button. So I think that's probably going to be, if they are going to do a sequel, obviously that's going to be probably the main story of it all, in my opinion.
That would be really interesting.
Riley going to puberty. I think we never really had a puberty movie when you think about it. Like,
no, not really.
No.
I mean, like I said before, they only did this concept like only once with Osmosis Jones, and I guess after that, it's like, oh, every time that we go into the human body or something, we have to like learn about it, like something educational, like the Magic School Bus or something.
Yeah, mind you, it's like we'll talk about this. We'll talk about the possible sequel in a minute, but we'll just finish off the film. So there's that, and then there's the hilarious conversation with the boy. And then you get to see his emotions inside his head, and like they're all panicking because they just seen Riley, and that was pretty hilarious. And and she looks a lot more put together, and looks like she's growing up. So, and they kind of leave it at that. And Riley now is adapting to life in the new city, with Sadness finally finding her place among the fellow emotions, and everyone works together to help her lead Riley to as happy as life as she turns 12. So that's the end of that.
Yeah, and I'm just hoping that we don't have to wait about 10 or 15 years and then they'll announce, hey, we're making a prequel about when she's in preschool.
Well, I mean, there's 5 unknown films, unentitled films at the moment in Pixar Studios, so who knows? Maybe one of them might be that possible sequel. So.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, we are getting The Incredibles 2. We're getting Toy Story 4. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Inside Out 2 is in the works.
Yeah, they need to do that. And along with I would like to see a sequel to Ratatouille, but anyway. But thinking about a possible sequel for Inside Out. I mean, if they do decide to go the puberty angle, I mean, they're going to have to be very careful not to turn this into like a 1.5 hour sex ed.
Oh God, no.
Movie.
You see, Riley, when mommy and daddy get together and love each other very much.
Oh my goodness! And
thank you.
I'm going along the lines of Riley realizes that she's developing, if you know what I'm
Oh,
talking about.
gotcha.
And
Okay.
like, she
Maybe they can pull off the "As Told by Ginger" thing in which she's watching a puberty video and they're talking about, getting your period and becoming, giving birth to a baby and having breasts. And who knows, maybe somebody will actually puke while they're watching it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, maybe. Well, they could do that scene in the classroom, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, mind you. Hopefully they won't. Well, mind you. Hopefully they won't make it too similar because we'll basically the next PixMix we do with the Inside Out sequel will just be saying, "Oh, remember when we saw this in As Told by Ginger? Oh, I remember you discussing that in We're in Between." It's like it's yeah. Hopefully we won't go to that point, but
No, I don't think so. We're not.
anyway. This movie cost $175 million to make, but it took home $856 million.
That is a
So
lot, considering that this was a movie that nobody was expecting to be this good.
money well spent, in my opinion. Even though it was, I don't know, was it Pixar's most expensive film? Thinking about,
Oh, actually, that's a good question. Let me double check to see what was the most expensive film. I mean, I wouldn't even
I'd
know.
imagine some of the later ones will probably be. I mean, like I probably imagine, I don't know, maybe Finding Dory, maybe or Cars 3 and Coco. Maybe they might have like blown the budget a little bit,
Possibly, yeah.
we'll get to them at some point. Anyway, scores. I say 10.
Yeah, 10. Me
Yeah,
too.
no debate. I think we're definitely going to say 10 on that. And yeah, so
It's kind of funny because I know some people who nitpick on this movie, saying that what Riley was going through were first world problems. That if they really wanted to focus on the emotions of somebody, why can't it be like, oh, a person who's struggling with like somebody who is Asperger's syndrome, or somebody who went through like physical or emotional abuse from a neglectful parent, or somebody who may have been like questioning their gender or something. So I do know people who give that criticism, which I think I mean, sure. I mean, I can understand that, but you have to understand that this is a Pixar movie and it's Disney. So I don't know if they would go that far, but I think for what we have, I think it's really excellent, and I don't see reasons on why people should be complaining about such things.
another thing about it as well is that have you ever seen the video on online where they cut out all the emotion scenes and just leave Riley, and in a way it
Yeah,
becomes its
I
own
did.
film. Yeah, it's like it's quite astounding how both sides of the movie kind of stand up on their own. When you think about it. So yeah, yeah. So definitely we recommend you go see it. It's definitely the one of the top, and yeah. So
Yeah, exactly. If I were to recommend, a movie that you should watch, that came out this decade, then Inside Out is the best one so far. I mean, Toy Story 3 is also is very close as well, but considering that we're getting a Toy Story 4, then yeah, as a standalone movie, yeah, Inside Out is highly recommended to check out.
do I dare go through all the awards it won?
Sure, I got all night.
Okay, it won like 58 different awards, and from like not just the Academy Awards, we're talking about like loads and loads and loads of awards. I'll tell you what, actually, Patricia, let me just forward you on Google Hangouts the amount of awards it got, and just click that link on there and just have a look.
All right, sure. Let's see what we got. Um, okay, clicking on the link, and oh my god!
Where should we start?
I I don't know. Oh wow! I mean, let's see. Where can we start with?
Well, let's just do the Academy Awards, and
Yeah, good idea. Academy Awards for Best Animated Feature. Again, I don't think it's too surprising.
And it was also nominated for Best Original Screenplay. And I don't think, has a Pixar film won anything outside of Best Animated Feature? Besides, obviously the music, and I'm trying to think. It's not. I don't think it's ever won a screenplay. I don't think it's ever got a supporting actor or a Best Actor award.
I
I don't
don't
think.
think so either. Yeah,
No.
you're right.
That I tell you,
Usually when it comes to like Pixar movies, I mean, it's either Pixar or Disney that usually wins for best animated feature. And I mean, this Oscars, for example, Coco won, but
yeah.
then again, it was going up against the likes of Boss Baby, so not surprised.
No, not too surprised at all. And mind you, with the one thing I'd like to see Pixar, I'd like to see them break through and like swoop up some like awards it's never won before. Like, dare I say, could it go for best film or like yeah,
Oh wow, best film overall. That's tough. Has an
yeah.
animated film ever won that?
I don't think it had. I don't. Well, I'm all for being proved wrong. So put it up in the comments down below if you
Yeah, I put it in
say.
the comments. But yeah, I think that when Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Film, I think that that's one of the reasons why they created the Best Animated Feature Film, and that's been going on since I think it was 2001 when Shrek, Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, and Monsters Inc. were nominated.
Yeah. So that's the end of PixMix, and tell you what, that's been a pretty entertaining one to say the least. And I'm looking forward to seeing if anything else can possibly top it. One thing I'm thinking of doing is probably the end of PixMix. Maybe we might do like a special video. I'm not talked over with Patricia yet, but maybe we might do like one at the very end where we rank all our Pixar films that we've seen.
Yeah,
Maybe
we
see
can.
which.
We might. Yeah, we can do that. That'll be fun. Maybe as soon as we're done with Incredibles 2, we can go from best to worst to best, and maybe we can even do the same thing for the shorts.
Cool. So from me, Aaron,
And Patricia,
take care and bye for now.
see you later. See you later. See you later. See you later.